We are live. It is Friday, February 28th in the year 2025. It is a beautiful day here in Atlanta. It's a beautiful afternoon. It's going to be in the 70s. I have nothing to complain about. I don't want to talk to anybody that has anything to complain about. And yet here I am about to introduce you to the crew. No complaints here. We're just good, lively debate because it is the Small Biz Breakdown. And as usual, we like to bring in Leland from Oregon.
It's good to be on, and I will try my hardest not to complain too much. I don't want to bring down the vibe before the weekend starts.
Well, it's very nice of you to do that. Let's see what the vibe is like in Medina as we bring in Madam Mike Drop herself, even at Taylor.
You're giving me stuff I can't live up to, but I will not complain. Was that a complaint? No complaints here in sunny, tropical Medina, suburb of Cleveland.
I've never
where
heard,
we rock. Where we rock.
I've never heard Medina described as tropical before, but hey, it sounds good. But I know in the nation's capital, there's always lots of interesting things going on, and that's where Shashi hails from. Hey, Shashi.
Hey, everyone.
What's going on in our nation's capital?
It's cold but sunny, and lots of excitement and activity.
Lots of excitement and activity. That's the way we like it, DC. Lots of excitement. Speaking of excitement, I don't really have a good transition. This guy is always energized. He's always full of pep in his step and dulcetness in his tones. Ramon Ray.
What's up, Brent and team? Hailing from the vacation capital of the world. It's good to see you all here. Good to see you all here and keep the echoes of positivity. Good to be here.
The echoes of positivity. Sounds good to me.
Thank you.
And yet, now I have to go to what usually doesn't sound good to me. The undulcet tones of the cold one, the bold one, John Cold Rice Lawson.
Wow, that only took you like 30 seconds to not complain.
Was that a complaint, really?
Yeah. I'd qualify.
If you say so, but I thought it was, being giving you your unique entry that I only give to you.
Wow.
For good reason.
God, I'm so happy.
We're all happy. It's Friday, and there's lots of things for the crew to dig into. But as usual, I like to start with a little bit of a little brain teaser. I don't know if it's brain teaser or quiz. Let's see what you guys know. Something happened this week. Something happened with YouTube this week. YouTube announced a milestone of sorts, and I was curious to see if anyone knows what that milestone was. Anybody know what that milestone is?
Shashi knows.
Don't be looking it up now.
I think wasn't it 1 billion podcasts or something like that?
Shashi is just always
I
right.
saw that one, yeah.
1 billion podcast listeners a month, and they said that YouTube is now the biggest podcast platform for listeners in the U.S.
Yeah, that is surprising.
Over all the other ones. But they said this in the U.S. I think if you go worldwide, it's like Apple, of course. But U.S., it's now YouTube. Is that where you guys go to listen to your podcast?
I'm still on Spotify. But Brent, can you just unpack for me? I should know this, but I'm still confused. What does it mean that YouTube is hosting a podcast? Does that mean on that channel you can turn off your phone, turn off the screen, it will still play? Because to me, Spotify does that, but on a regular video on YouTube, you can't. So I don't mean to get detailed, but honestly, I'm asking the difference between podcast, video. Is there a special player? Like what makes it podcastable?
I will point you. Oh, go ahead, Shashi.
No, I think I had the same question because one of the things that Google Player, which used to be their podcasting platform, moved everything to YouTube. So now if you use YouTube and you're listening to a podcast on YouTube Music, it will not go down when you close the screen.
Oh.
Only for podcasts.
Interesting. Okay.
That's exactly what I wanted to know. So I see. So that is a difference because that frustrated me with YouTube stuff is that you close the screen, and you got to keep it playing. So, okay. So anything designated as podcast, if you click the screen off or it goes off, it'll keep playing.
It'll keep playing.
Got it.
Nice.
That's good to
All
know.
right.
It's good to know.
Getting the information out there. Are you guys? Is that going to change the way that you take in podcasts? I mean, knowing that YouTube.
Mine's tweaked. I do both. I just upload. I my content goes live across multiple platforms, so it's on YouTube natively via these platforms like the StreamYard and Restream, and then I upload it to Spotify. So I go both ways.
That's good to know, Ramon. Is DEI going to affect the way you go with podcasts? The fact that you go both ways?
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I've started to put I have like a chocolate and vanilla on both sides, and it's increasing it. I'm protected all sides. In fact, I'm going to have Leland join my podcast just to make it a little more balanced, and so that's what we're going to do.
I'd be glad to be on it.
Yeah, Shasha, he doesn't have to. He's a whole other category. So it's just as long as I have Leland. So, anyways, let me turn it back to Brent before I just ruin the whole show.
But there's one takeaway for small businesses to the question that Brent asked. I think you have to publish once and syndicate across the board. So better to have a video cast and a podcast together like you're doing, Ramon. Good example.
Thank you, Shashi. Thank you.
It might mean that your audience might be bigger on YouTube than on the traditional podcast platforms. So maybe you got to pay more attention to it in that aspect. I don't know.
YouTube is a search engine. Always remember that. It's a great place.
It's the number 2 search engine.
Yeah.
And even on like streaming TV, a friend of mine just showed me my show this morning on her YouTube TV. How it got there, I don't know. She could have been searching for it manually, but just metaphorically, nobody's ever showed me Spotify in TV or Apple on TV. It's the YouTube ecosystem on mainstream, the streaming TVs. So
the other thing is, if you say something intelligent and somebody is searching for that, it will take you to that exact spot where you said it in Google search results. I think that's a good one.
Yeah,
I
but
love
you're
that feature.
You're really expecting lots of people to say lots of intelligent things, I guess.
Oh yeah, Brent, that happens to me a lot of times. We just finished the stats for my show. 92% of the things I say are said intelligently. Said Reuters, AP, all the stats, all the analysts, even ESPN just came out.
ESPN. Yes, I quite find that interesting since you don't really like sports, but yeah, that's me. All right, moving on. Didn't OpenAI just announce a new version of ChatGPT coming out 4.5?
Is that the operator? Is that the $200 a month one?
No, it's just 4.5.
No, it's just
it's the non-trained or the pre-trained edition.
Yeah.
And
So
it's fabulous.
So and I wonder why it's fabulous. I got a question for you guys around that, because just this week, NVIDIA CEO came out. They did their earnings announcements. Everybody kind of knows now. The whole world kind of stops, at least the financial world, when it comes to NVIDIA and what their earnings mean for AI, generally speaking. So he had this to say as part of their earnings call. AI has to do how many more times computation now than when ChatGPT was released just a little over 2 years ago? Anyone want to take a guess? How many more times computations are being done now than when ChatGPT came out?
I don't define computations.
Oh, come on, man.
1,000.
All right. So if it takes, like say before 10 million, and that's probably a low number, but 10 million CPU cycles or something like that. Yeah, very, very low. But how many times more?
I voted already. 1,000.
All right, Ramon's on the board for 1,000.
I'm going to say 100. I'm going to say 100,000.
Wait a minute. You're going to say 100,000?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got 1,000 from Ramon, got 100,000 from the bold one. That's a pretty bold one, by the way. Anybody else?
200.
200.
Just,
So
I don't even know. I abstain.
You have to give
Oh,
a number.
come on, pick a guess.
Pick a number.
Pick a number.
No.
Just take the 42 route. And
Yeah, right. Okay.
No, really.
42.
No,
Right?
42. So we got 42. We got 200. We got 1,000, and we got 100,000. And Shashi, what was yours again?
$1 million.
A million. There you go.
All right, this is really going to be interesting. All right, so the answer to that question is
What is it? Like a billion, 100 times more. Somebody said 100.
yeah, but
No,
then he
no,
said
no.
1,000 after he said 100,000.
Okay, then Leland said 200.
Yeah, but you were at 42,
You
so
said
you're actually
42.
the closest.
No,
Without going
You're
over,
the
right?
closest.
without going over.
Well,
I don't know.
42 is closer than 200.
Y'all know that
Yeah.
Brent is not giving any prizes, so it doesn't really matter. You do know that.
That's
The
true.
prize is
Bragging
your knowledge.
rights.
Your knowledge,
Bragging rights.
knowing how smart you are, or in this instance, you aren't. But that's okay. We have fun with these things. Are you surprised that it's apparently you guys are surprised that it's only 100 times more than it used to be?
I don't even know. I honestly, this is like asking me what $1 trillion looks like. I
That's
have like
exactly what it is.
right. Like I have no idea. I have
Nobody
no sense
knows.
of perspective or
takes-
context.
Well, if it takes 1 million GPU cycles, when ChatGPT came out originally, you times that by 100, and that's the
Okay,
number
so
you get.
what?
Exactly. So what?
But it's just a damn question.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean,
The
she's
hell?
I'm not complaining.
she's
I guess
making a good point. It's like, what do we? Yeah, so
I
what?
guess
How
I'm
many-
trying to
how
get
many-
to.
It's like how many grains of sand are on the beach?
Well,
So
see,
what?
even in those, because she gave us that great illustration of wealth from 2 months ago, where we did individual grains of rice.
Yeah, I get
I
you.
think you
Okay,
also.
no, seriously. I think the question I'm really asking is like, what
How
is
much
the
more it
benefit?
costs?
No, what is the benefit to small business? Are that we able to do more faster? I created a custom GPT right before I got on the show. It took me, I kid you not, like maybe 5 minutes to create it, and I ran through it. It was a 90-minute cycle, meaning like a consultation cycle
So
that I
you said it took
created.
5 minutes.
It took me 5 minutes to create it. I was blown away by the level of like thoughtful, and it was just creative enough. I was, like I said, so my question is, what benefit do we as users get from that 100 times more? Is it like
It's
what
smarter,
I experienced
it's
this morning?
faster,
I think
Faster
smarter, it's
computation, and it's
faster
probably cheaper than it would have been
and cheaper.
for you to do.
Yes.
Do you think, let me ask somebody who has a clue. I would say when I wrote this, when I first created a GPT, it took me forever. It took me like, let's call it 10 to 15 man hours of figuring it out and how it's going to work and blah, blah, blah. In this particular case, I did not do as much thinking. I literally just wrote down the process of what I wanted it to do the way I might instruct someone to do it. So, and it came out practically perfect the first time. I had to do one tweak, and I think it's going to be amazing. And so, like, to me, if that's a reflection of that 100 times more,
Yes, that is exactly what it is. It's
then that's a
faster,
real benefit to
smart.
small businesses.
But it's smarter. That's
Smarter.
why. It's smarter.
It's more intuitive. I felt like
Yeah.
it was more intuitive.
And even if you go back to your old GPTs that you created, when you run them with the new model when it comes out, even those results are going to be faster and smarter.
like I said, just this morning, blown away. And if you're a small business that has stayed away from AI because you didn't feel like going through those iterations that I just talked about, because I'm a geek, you won't have to do that anymore, because the result was absolutely faster, more intuitive. Like it remembered things, it knew things. I can't explain it.
So that's why that computational power is allowing you to do all that stuff.
Well, that's where I want the people to get that are watching.
But
this.
the other part of that is not only can you do what you used to do faster, cheaper, and more effectively or accurate, but you also have capabilities to do things that you couldn't do with that because you have that additional computational power. I think that's kind of the general message for technology anyway, is as time goes on, more technology becomes a little easier to use, a little less expensive, and allows you to do the things that you do easier and cheaper and more efficiently. But it also gives you the ability to do things you weren't even dream of doing even 2 years ago. I mean, let's face it. You're talking about building your own GPT. 2.5 years ago, would you have even talked? I mean, seriously, would you even know what GPT meant 2.5 years
No,
ago?
of
Really?
course,
Because I know I wouldn't have. I didn't. So
Okay,
didn't-
let's play that game. What does it mean?
generative
Oh,
pre-training.
general pre-trained transformer.
What does it mean?
What it means is, it's not general, generated.
Generative.
It means that it's generating, right, the way an AI works, which is predicting each letter, each word, each whatever. That's what it means to generate. Pre-trained based on the language model that you're giving it and all the data. Transformer is the innovative, unique way that it puts all these thoughts and things together. However, it is not quote unquote creative. It creates, but it's not creative. You give it creative
Ooh,
direction.
It's creative.
Nah, I disagree with that last
It
part.
creates parts.
You-
Well,
but it
you
makes
have
it-
to-
You know what? You tried to qualify so that it didn't feel like it was actually
No,
an
let
alien
me
thing.
explain. Let me explain.
Tell me.
For example, very often when I'm creating a GPT, when I'm creating content, I might say, write like John Lawson, write like Ramon Ray, right? Or give me an image in the style of Picasso, but always know there has to be a Picasso, there has to be a Hemingway, there has to be a Ramon, there has to be a John. What I'm not aware of,
Leland, do you ever feel bad about being left out of all these comparisons?
Leland, Brent,
curious.
it's just because these
I'm
guys
just
are like, these guys are
Right, but I'm saying if
Look,
you take, if you
I wrote
take,
for Inc. for 3 years. I mean,
but
I
if
did
you
my
take
shit
something
right.
that's already existing, which we all have, like music, there's only so many notes on a piano.
correct.
Just because those notes are on a piano don't mean that you don't create music from those same notes, does it?
Well, actually, GPT does create unique pieces, right? I'm not, and it creates unique pieces of writing, but wasn't there something that came out in the legal world? There was something that came out regarding copyright that said, I wish I could quote this because I just heard it on a video, that said that if you are not heavily editing AI created content, it is non-copyrightable.
Yeah, even I hear your point, but even I think the challenge is that it's easy to go back to AI because we can track it. It's robots and people are scared of it. But think of any of the business leaders today. I don't know, Jim Rohn, I don't know if he's dead or alive, or Tony Robbins, any of these people. We all got the stuff we got today from them. Zig Ziglar, who's the ClickFunnels
Correct.
guy. So I guess my point is nobody's suing them because when I say it, everybody, the African proverb says, you can go farther faster or together with others, whatever that, blah, blah, blah. Oh, Ramon Ray, and they cry and come up to me. Yeah, I may have attributed to some African proverb, whatever, but nobody's suing me. But because they can, the lawyers can say, okay, ChatGPT, we're going to dig into your code. Looks like you get, so I think, but I
Yeah,
did want to
I
take a
agree.
left. Yeah. So I did want to take a left turn here and ask y'all. Brent, may I just ask a question? A separate question, please? Thanks. Yeah, so our friend, some of y'all know Marcus Sheridan, you may know his book, exactly what they ask you answer. He just came out with a post, not just, but on LinkedIn, and this is not new, I'm about to say, but he was talking about the quote-unquote death. Give me some freedom of the exaggeration here, but the death of agencies. And I was just curious, we're talking about AI, what y'all think about that. He was saying, hey, as AI gets faster and faster, the creative, the agencies, all the stuff we're paying them for, one client came back and said, hey, I know you're using AI, we're using AI, so if you're going to do this, reduce your fees by half. You get what I'm saying. So I was curious what y'all think of the overall thought of that,
I don't know.
Great.
I don't want to go to that funeral yet.
That's the
but
same thing
it's
they
about to
said.
happen. Wherein, I mean, the things that we have counted. I mean, because if you think about it, what is an agency?
Yeah.
An agency really is usually a house of specific professionals to get, and I don't think we're going to have. So we're going to have agencies.
And we'll still need to outsource stuff, John, meaning so Ramon Ray is still going to say, hey, agency, handle this for me because I'm focused on making the popcorn. I don't want to think about how to market it. But I think the point of the day is I don't need you to have 100 people, 10 interns, and 40 creative directors.
No.
5 of y'all with a good computers can still use your brains and just
Right.
give me give me the same thing we had for the last 20 years, but we know you're using just high-end PCs, whatever. So I just want to
So
point it out.
here's the crazy thing, and I don't know if you guys were up on this. I had created a Fiverr account, and I had created it to deliver work. So the opposite of like going over to, I read that and it threw me off. But anyway, I created a Fiverr account to do the work, right? And so I got a notification that Fiverr was having their annual, announcements. And so I was like, oh, let me go over here. And it was the announcements for the creators on the platform. What they have just announced is that you are going to be able to, similar to a pre-trained GPT, you're going to have a pre-trained GPT basically on your work. And then people are going to be able to, like if you're a voice actor, right? They're going to be able to put, their script in. It'll be able to read it with your voice, but using, AI version of your voice. And then you get a portion of that fee. So they keep a portion, you keep a portion. And I'm sitting in this room full of creators, and like 85% of them are applauding. And I'm looking around, I'm like, you guys, they're getting ready to replace you. They're getting ready to have you train their AI on your IP, and then they're not going to need you later. It's crazy where we're headed.
Well, that's already happened. And when the actors were on strike, what was it, last year? I was watching a video of one guy who was like, what do I call it? Like a B-list guy. He's in a lot of things. He's working. He makes a living. He's just not a celebrity, right? And so he says the last movie he was on, they took each of those actors, they put them in a tent, and they did their likeness and their voice and their actions. And they got paid for that, but it was a one-time fee. Like, I'm just going to throw out $10,000. I mean, who knows I don't know what it was.
More, but yes.
But he was complaining about that because whatever that was going to be that they would use his likeness, his voice, his everything, wherever they chose. And this is what he was concerned about, which was his say. So he says, as an actor, there are things I choose not to do for whatever reason. So, not to be.
But even that
James Earl Jones Jones will always be the voice of Darth Vader, because he sold his voice, did all the recordings so that they could use his voice forever, infinitum, and he got paid.
As any Darth Vader. So like even Darth Vader in a commercial.
Yep.
Selling something that James Earl Jones would not want to sell.
But I think that was old school legacy example. Smart on him, but I think today, I could be wrong, but I believe that actor who's complaining, now AI can just make a brand new face that is in no database. This cat's at the bag, so we don't even need B-level space. It's like when you say A-level and B-level, it's like me and Brent Leary. Brent Leary's the A-level. He goes to all these places, and then when they need somebody for the room, they call Ramon. So I know what it's like to be B-level. That's my whole life, is being B-level. My whole life.
Oh, Ramon, stop it! I want to be you. I want to be your B level, Ramon. If I could be your B level, that would be great.
1,000 musicians release a silent album in protest of UK's proposed AI copyright law changes. Brent Leary has on the screen here.
This is basically talking about what you guys are going through. These folks, and these are from pretty. I don't know. That's Annie Lennox on the left, and that's Kate Bush on the right. I don't know who the dude is in the middle, but these ain't B-lister people that are fighting this stuff now. And it's just getting started. And it doesn't even have to be the B-list. They're coming for the A-listers too. I mean,
because I don't think they need him, Brent. Right? I mean, when you look at it, yes, we know Matt Damon's name, and I could be wrong. I'm curious to vote for you all, but for example, I like shoot 'em up, terrorist flag, save the people shows. That's me. Y'all may like different things. So my point is, if you saw a movie like that, if Matt Damon wasn't on it, it may be a little bit less in my mind, but for that 45-minute hour thrill, I could see myself watching AI generated good quality, not today's maybe, but a year or two from now or 6 months movie. Y'all, what do y'all think? I mean, the actors.
It's coming soon.
Yeah,
There was this was like a year ago. There was a company come out with a, and they used South Park as a reference because South Park is, that cardboard looking, and so it's easy to animate. And so what they did is they created a program that could create a South Park episode with AI completely, voices, the animation, everything, the script. And then what they could do is then go into individual scenes and just tweak the scenes a little bit, and then it would adjust the story as a whole. And that was like a year ago, and they were easily able to just make episodes. Like in a year, what are they going to do? But that was their test case. They weren't trying to copyright or step on South Park's toes, but they just wanted to use it as a test case. But it was very viable a year ago. And, the stuff that's coming out of Sora and all of these video AI generations, I wouldn't be too surprised within 5 years. You can't just go up and dial up your own TV show. I want to see an action flick with the husband and a wife, ex-spies trying to save their kids or something like that. I want to see a cartoon that does, that's wholesome and great for my kids, or I want to see, whatever.
That's only 5 episodes long, and I have $10 and whatever. Boom, 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 boom. Come back in 30 seconds later, and it's ready. Popcorn served.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench on there. What is that going to do to the sex industry and the workers in the sex industry?
Oh, same thing, John. No, same thing. It's going to annihilate it. Same thing, man. Yeah. Absolutely. And they're the ones, John, who will suffer the most. That's why I have a whole campaign in Congress.
Well,
I'm going forward and saying we need to protect their rights. Humans only. Humansonly.com, John.
I don't know, guys.
Well, here's the only thing. The only reason why I bring this up is because I used to always talk about back in the day, PPC, pills, porns, and casinos are the reason why we have what we have today in terms of transactional internet. And that industry always are the ones that drive technology, honestly.
Gaming does too, by the way.
Well, that's why I said pills, porn, and casino.
Gaming is internet game, kids, not casino.
Yeah.
When you look at loot boxes, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Like there are diamonds that come from the mines, and there are lab-grown diamonds. There's no difference in price. It's almost the same. They don't say like, hey, this is only going to be 10% of the cost. What I predict, Ramo, to your question is you'll have choices. Number one is human-created content from an agency. Number one is AI-created content from an agency, priced less, not going to happen so much. And the third one is entirely AI-generated content that you create yourself or an agency does it for you.
No, we're forgetting. We're forgetting
Sorry.
something.
Yeah.
I want to ask a question. The question is, I find that what technology has done is like a double-edged sword. And I feel like it's pushing the work onto the consumer. So back in the day, to use John's phrase, if I wanted to go on a trip, I contact the airline, I got my ticket, I boarded the plane. There were not a lot of steps involved, right? But technology tends to push the work onto the consumer, and that's starting to increasingly drive me crazy. So to your point about these AI created shows or agencies, my point is I don't want to be the one to think about. That's why I personally struggle with AI generated images, because I have to tell it what I want, and apparently I do not have that skill.
But even don't forget Shashi's hybrid, Shashi's hybrid. To your point, he didn't say you have to create the movie each time. That was his third model. He's saying there's 2 guys and 2 girls in a garage who are building the next Netflix, all AI generated at forget Reed Hastings and all that. He's saying at pennies of the cost. I could do it right now. You know what I mean? Me and John Lawson get together. You get what I'm saying? Make it, and we have a database of 10,000 by next week. That's what he's saying. And then
Ah.
put the engines in there, ask you. So he's just saying the next Netflix don't have to be licensing K-dramas and Spanish dramas and all the other dramas from them. Do you see what I'm saying? It's just a hit button.
I
So that's
do.
what he's getting at.
And I think if I were a small business owner watching this session, I would be freaking out.
No, you should
This-
be excited.
Yes.
I'm just being my audience right now, not to channel Oprah or anything. I am like not. I might be excited as someone who understands, but if I were a small business owner, I don't know that I would be about as excited as when the Walmart built their store down the street, or the Home Depot or whatever. And I used to be, because I live in a tourist town where there's a lot of small businesses, when they built the strip mall and the big box stores, a lot of our local businesses absolutely flipped out. And I said to them, you should be excited. This is an opportunity that of things you can do that these big box stores cannot. They didn't see it that way.
But even
And so I'm
everybody will have to
wondering-
innovate.
I have another example.
Shashi, why don't you give us another example?
You take photography that small businesses use, right? I would say number one, if you have taken a photograph of genuine customers or your product, that will always be trumping against anything else. Number two is stock photography, because some of it is taken by professionals. When you use AI generated one to showcase your product, AI engines are going to recognize that this is not human generated, so it's probably going to be a little less ranked than. So the same thing applies to the scenario where you're not pushing it on the business, but you're just saying you pay a premium for human generated, pay a less premium for an AI generated because you can't do it yourself.
And they're always going to go for the cheaper. You know what?
If they
I'm going
don't
to tell you
know.
this. I'm going to tell you this. If you want to think about, and this is a very old analogy, but I remember this same kind of feeling when self-service gas came out. Nobody's going to do that. I don't want to get out and pump my own gas, but it was literally at the time. I mean, it was probably, like 20 cents cheaper, but I'm trying to think of the percentage. It was really substantially cheaper to pump your own gas than to have, a full service. And all of a sudden, if you look 5, maybe 10 years later, there was zero full service. And that
except New Jersey, because
and they had to
it's
draw
mandated
laws.
there.
Right. They had to draw laws. So maybe to Sashi's point, they're going to create some laws to protect human created stuff. But I guarantee you the opportunity for you to be like, hey, I made this by my own hand ain't going to be an opportunity.
I just want to take this time to thank John for being old enough to bring us that example.
There's always going to be like people that are going to want laws to be able to protect industries like that. It's happening right now with the dock workers. The ability to fully automate a dock is right now.
Here.
It is
Right here.
possible. They're happening all over the world. But in America, we have certain docks that are like, no, we will have our people. We have tons of people employed. And so we have laws on the book that protect the dock workers so that they don't lose their jobs, even though their jobs can be fully automated and maybe there's just a handful of people that are needed.
I don't know, Shashi. I saw a video, and when was the last time you were in India, Shashi?
Last year, June.
Okay, great. Perfect. So I saw this video and I honestly did not even know what to think about it. So this guy says he was in India and he says that they were walking past some place and there were women there cutting grass with like hand shears. And the guy's like, why aren't you using like a lawnmower? And the guy says it's cheaper to have people do this labor. Is that a thing, Shashi?
I can imagine that even today, right? Like when you think about India is like 1.5 billion population, Not everybody is in the technology field. In fact, it's probably less than 10% in my estimation, right? So there's still people there. I'm waiting for a day when they find it more economical to use a machine because the human labor is doing something more productive than cutting grass.
Well, Shashi, is
they're-
it because the human labor is doing something more productive, or because the cost? Because the cost. Because when you're talking about, let's say in the case of India, the human labor is doing so much more productive. You'll always have X% of millions of people who are not going to do something more productive. So I get your point, but I would just say when they find it.
I probably change of words a little bit. Doing something more productive, meaning, like for example, we all know Sridhar Vembu, right? Like today, he was actually talking about why India should produce more of its manufacturing itself, because there's a huge market in India.
Going head to head with China.
Right. There's a huge market in India. Why not use the people, the population of India as a power to make things that are consumed by the Indian market, which is huge? In that case, all the people who are just doing daily labor will disappear, Shivana.
Yeah, but
Right, and
Shashi,
all
again, I'm sorry, Shashi, but I have to push back at the second half of your point. Not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody wants to go into a factory, learn how to put tools together, and make this chapstick. So I get your point, but I still think it's a little Pollyanna pie in the sky. I agree with the first half, but I don't agree with saying that just we'll give the opportunity, just like John Lawson's friend who said they're taking away black jobs and you're taking away all these things like this. That's not the case. That's not that's not the case. So
All right.
I'll tell you, I agree with you, but the opportunity wasn't there for a very long time when the economy was controlled and it was not. Like today, when I go back, like education is very high. The amount of people who are employable is very high, but they don't have jobs. So if the model of people is only to let me find a job, it will still remain the same. But if they start thinking about, I'm going to make something, like I think I've seen stories of entrepreneurs making candles and things like that.
Entrepreneurs making candles. Anyway, it's okay. Yeah, got it. Yep.
Sorry, I didn't.
It's a good conversation. I'd love to carry it on, but we've got to go some other places here. First of all, let's say hello and thank you. There's some great comments coming in. Pierre is doing big work. Abdul, I don't want to mess up Gunavardhan. I hope that's how you pronounce
Abdul
your name.
Rahman Nilkwe.
And
Gunavardhan.
okay, all right. And we're gonna have to give an
Guna.
award.
You can call him Guna probably.
We're gonna have to give an award to Stan for the absolutely longest comment we've ever had. It's a good comment, and we appreciate it. We appreciate everybody's comments here. Yeah, Pierre. I had to shut them down for just a second. All right, before we go to I was gonna say the next one. This might be the last one. So I think it was just today that it was announced that Skype was going to be shut down by Microsoft. Is anybody?
What? I use Skype.
Okay, that answered my question. Does anybody still use Skype?
I use it when I call Ivana.
Yeah.
It's all because of Leland and Small Biz Trends.
Yep.
And because when I first built my virtual team, everybody was on Skype, and we just haven't left.
Brent, what's coming back?
Go ahead.
I was just curious, does Skype have a competing tool that Microsoft makes? I wasn't sure. I know WhatsApp's by Facebook. Does they have a Teams? That's why.
Teams.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So
Brent.
once again, Microsoft is the place where good ideas go to die.
I'm sure there's a financial reason why that died.
I would say Google too.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Google.
How many
Microsoft,
communication platforms they had?
Microsoft bought at the same time they bought Skype. They bought this other thing, and they were like completely competing services. And they named the other thing Skype Enterprise, and then they just left Skype, and then they went out and built Teams. And there's no need to have three of those things anymore. I'm surprised it's been around as long as it has been, because it's.
Hey, look at Stan. Look at Stan's comment. I like Stan's comment. I think that's fascinating.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what? They were already building Teams at that point, so they weren't going to go away from Teams. In Skype, they kept it on life support. And then what's the like biggest newest feature that Skype has had? And when did that happen? Like 8 years ago?
constantly updating and moving the buttons.
And I
Yeah,
think they had an
that-
API
that's
connection to. They had an API connection to the fax machine. I think you could hit a button and fax out somewhere to it.
Oh yeah, so you connect the Skype with fax machine. That's very innovative.
Even
Okay.
and Leela would fax each other throughout their session.
But since it's going to die anyway, right? Like one of the first software that helped you connect across countries.
Yes.
Oh, really? Skype was?
That's
Oh
true.
my
Oh
goodness.
yeah, it was
That's
so
right.
it was
Well,
Somebody
amazing.
look
That-
it up. It was the
And-
thing.
When wasn't
That
Skype
and
come out of
Messenger.
Luxembourg or some kind of
Yep.
crazy little country like that?
Mhm.
Yeah. That makes total sense.
And even
2003.
TV stations. Even now, you can see, like, I think it says Cisco by Skype or whatever. Maybe that's not it, but
Yep.
something you can see. A few stations still use Skype.
I mean, because here's the thing: another company destroyed it first, which was eBay bought it first. Which
Oh, that's right.
They
They
should,
passed it along.
that's right. And then Skype bought themselves back from eBay, and
That's right.
then they sold to Microsoft. So it's been mishandled many times. And to Sashi's point, it was a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, you're right.
2003. And I remember my friend talking about it. As someone who has friends and team members all over the world, it's just changed everything.
Well, let's go back to the what Stan said about. I'll bring this up about dropping the ball on COVID. You know what, Stan? I think what happened was Zoom was already on the horizon, and when the pandemic hit, consumers gravitated to Zoom. It was because it was already there. It was already being used, and then when
And it was
everything got
already
shut
better.
down-
And easy.
It
to
was
use.
already better. It was
It was
The
already
interface
better.
easier to use.
well,
Skype
it was
still
on the
confusing.
incline, whereas Skype was like either this or this at that point. So I think the consumers made that decision,
Right.
and
And
it made the
Skype-
right decision.
Skype was a app that you had to download, where Zoom was a cloud-based, and that's what killed it.
Remember, like with Zoom or with Skype, didn't you have to like, if you wanted to make calls, you had to
Yes.
like, at some point you had to put some money on there so
Yep.
that you can make those international calls and all that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
So not only did the software kind of get stale, the business model completely got stale because nobody wanted to spend like $1 on an international call anymore. It was just not happening. Anyway,
It looks like Doge is in Microsoft too now.
oh man. All right, we're going there. So so this is what I wanted to get to.
Oh,
That's for you, John. Go ahead, John.
oh no!
All right, so this is ripped right from the headlines of Small Biz Trends. Small Biz confidence is up, and let me get to the.
Did we talk about this last week?
Yeah, I thought we did this last week.
No, this is a different survey, I think.
But I mean, we talked about small business and.
Well,
Hey guys, Brent is the producer of the show, guys. So let's let him
all
unpack
right,
this.
all
thing.
right. Well, you know, Brent's a little old. He might forget things. So
yeah,
I want to
I'm
remind him.
Well,
old enough
remember,
to remember. You're older than me, so
remember last week he was saying that small business confidence was down, and now it's up.
See, I wasn't saying it. The people were saying it. So this is what we're going with here, folks. Rip right from the headlines of Small Biz Trends. I'd like to make sure I said that.
Nice red background too for John.
Small business owners are entering 2025 with heightened confidence despite persistent economic uncertainty. According to Bluevine, I don't know who the hell they are, 2024 end of year.
Financial services.
Okay, good. The survey of 1,200 small business owners found that 79%, that's a lot, expressed confidence in their business outlook, an increase from 73% mid-2024. Expectations for profitability and revenue growth have also risen, reflecting resilience among small business. Yeah, did I read that? I was very positive in my reading.
I mean, honestly, it's really amazing. This is exactly what Ivana and I were talking about last week. It's like almost they were
I'm not
watching
done
the
yet,
show
but, you know,
and typed it out. It's
this is
crazy.
just the wind up.
They should just ask us,
Even
John.
Sorry.
They
Yeah.
should just ask us.
As many compliments as she gives you, and you just keep
I
continually
just
butchering her name. I give her
was
pearls. I give her
reading something
nicknames. I tell her. I
speaking.
talk about Medina being the Mecca, and she just like ignores me. But anyway, we're moving forward here. All right, now with all that as a backdrop, now this is from the conference board. U.S. consumer confidence dropped sharply February 4th. Matter of fact, I actually have a little video clip for this.
Oh, yay.
Let's go to the clip.
I love it when you
U.S.
do that.
consumer confidence fell at its sharpest pace in 3.5 years in February, while inflation expectations surged. That's according to a report from the Conference Board, which indicated Americans were growing more anxious about the potential negative impact of President Donald Trump's policies on the economy. A senior economist with the Conference Board said that comments on the current administration and its policies dominated the responses to the latest survey. And there was a sharp increase in mentions of tariffs and trade, back to a level unseen since 2019. Other economists said unprecedented layoffs of federal government workers were also taking a toll on consumers' psyche, which they said posed a risk to spending, the main engine of the U.S. economy. Consumer confidence fell for the third straight month, while average inflation expectations over the next year.
Okay, that cut off really abrupt. And here's
I'm just curious, your sort of sense of confidence in today's economy relative to what we're seeing in the stock market. What's your sort of gut on what's happening here?
I think the economy's weakening. It didn't have a lot of momentum, but it was okay. But it's definitely starting to turn down, I think. The consumer, there's several warning signs. Confidence was down, obviously. The base of consumers that are driving spending has narrowed to affluent. Defaults, delinquencies are rising. Meme stocks are down. There's a lot of things to say the consumer is starting to buckle a little bit. At the same time, I think the uncertainty coming out of Washington is causing businesses to slow down. What's my supply chain going to cost? I don't know. Can I export? Are there going to be reciprocal duties? I don't know. Should I build another plant? Let's wait and see.
Okay, so
all right, let's move off of that. Trying to balance it out a little bit. So we got small businesses extremely confident, but we have consumers going the opposite direction. And that guy, he's actually the chairman of, I think it's Costco and former CEO of Blackstone, sounding some alarms. And then before I turn this over to you guys, I want to go back to this. Inflation is expected to rise by 4.3% over the next 12 months. That's from the University of Michigan. And then yesterday or the day before, weekly jobless claims jumped to 242,000, more than expected. I think that's it. So we have a lot of built up optimism coming from the small business group, but we have a lot of data that's pointing in a completely different direction. So it's like Team Optimism, Team Apprehension.
Not really.
Actually, kind of. I mean, you could technically be both, but if you're a true optimist, then you'd be barreled down the hatches. I'm gonna do my investing. I'm gonna buy all my stuff. I'm not worried about it.
One is a leading indicator and one's a lagging indicator. I believe that consumer confidence is a leading indicator, and small business is a lagging indicator.
Are you optimistic still? I'm just curious.
I'm totally optimistic.
All right. Yes. So in the face of all that, you're still optimistic. Okay. How about everybody else? What are you? Are you still feeling the same thing, or what?
I'm cautiously optimistic, but one thing I did want to add, stop me anytime, Brent, is that I think eggs is a consumer issue, is what me and my wife talk about in our home. The bills are higher and all that, versus for business, sales is a different issue. Wherever optimistic, we'll figure it out. So I just see other things. But eggs is a real thing. It's expensive things. Thank you, Stan. Stan agrees 100% with me, says Ramon. Ray is exactly right. Thank you, Stan.
I don't know what he was saying exactly.
No, I think he was talking about me.
I think he's talking about me. No,
by the way, with the eggs thing, was it the Waffle House? Didn't they put on their menu recently a surcharge for eggs?
But McDonald's went the opposite. Denny's. McDonald's says we will not raise prices. We will keep them the same.
Okay.
Because McDonald's can take it.
Correct. And going back to the point, my wife was telling me she saw somebody in our local Walmart where we shop for eggs. We get the 60 box thing now. She said she saw some joker in there just like with 3 or 4 boxes. People are stocking up. Come on,
see Pierre, there it is. So once again, who else is on Team Optimism? There's nothing right now saying things aren't going to be really good this year.
I want to be on the other side. No, not optimistic, because I read recently that
get out of here.
The spending, 50% of the consumer spending is coming from the top 10% of earners. What that basically means is I think it was 50% of all the consumer spending stat that we saw came from only a very specific 10% of high earners. What that means is this is very similar to what happens in many countries is if the income gap between the lowest earners and the top increases so much that the stat will not realistically give you a picture of what's happening in the field, right? So normal goods prices are going up, and small businesses, the stat that you saw about small businesses, I mean, December, at the end of the year, everybody is very happy. They're very hopeful. So the survey is probably right that at that time they were hopeful.
Yeah,
But
you
I
know
think-
what?
Yeah, good.
No, I was just going to dovetail on that. I heard, and I was listening to this one thing, said that part of the reason why it was so up in December is because the elections were finally over.
Yes.
Or finally over in the result.
It didn't
Was
matter
what it
about
was.
the results. It was just all the uncertainty.
The uncertainty's gone.
Of it was like, hey,
'Cause-
everybody's
yeah.
like, okay, at least that's in our, rear view.
Because the average business won't really care. Kamala, Trump. I mean, we'll just rock on. 4 years. But Brent, can you look at what Pierre said? That's what I meant in my first comment. Why he said I was right exactly what I said, and why Stan agreed with me. A business that needs eggs will look differently at egg prices than a family. And I don't know if John agrees with me on this, but I think knowing John and I are in similar communities, the optimism. We'll figure it out. We'll make it work. We'll upsell whatever we do. So it's just our mindset. The business is going to be different. In me living in a household, though, me shopping for eggs, which is expensive. So I think you can be dual in this. That's why I think that report can be live in the same house.
I have a figure for you all. The population of hens in the US is equal to the population of humans in the US. And they all need to be vaccinated against bird flu. So
Damn. See, now Stan is saying something like that goes against what you guys are saying about the optimism. He's on Shashi's side. He's gone beyond Shashi. Extremely pessimistic. Once things really hit the consumer fan, you're going to see a huge turndown in the economy. So
And that's why I'm excited.
Depends on your business, right? Because
Right.
when
I
the
mean,
economy
there's so
when the
many-
economy
yeah.
goes down, what is exciting, assuming you're not starving and going to lose your house.
yeah, okay, that's the
Right,
big
exactly.
assumption.
Which is a huge for some people, which is
Exactly.
huge. It's a real thing.
Exactly. A lot of people.
This is why I'm saying that, right? I was in a conversation with a client yesterday, and we literally had to go down and have a conversation about meeting people where they are. And if you are concerned about that lowest level, like your security, your home, food, those types of things, it's going to be really hard to have a conversation about your vision for the future and changing massive systems. Like you cannot be thinking about those things, right? So it depends on the business that you're in, because where I'm excited, per John, is that some of the best businesses are created when things are tough.
That's right.
So for that true entrepreneur who solves a real problem, this is going to be a tremendous opportunity. If you are a small business owner, especially one with brick mortar, right, that is dependent on consumers to take away from their increasingly diminishing disposable income. And that means to people selling to solopreneurs and micro businesses, it's going to be challenging.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you guys, my impression from what I have seen is that the rate of change in what works in marketing is really changing. What used to take like 5 years to change now takes like 5 months, 5 days, like is fast about what works and what it takes to recraft your offer, your message, your conversion points. Depends on the business that you're in.
I just want to say I just want to say hello to Amber because we first time hearing from her during this show, and Amber is hyped up because she's using all caps for everything here. You must evaluate where you are to know what to talk about with who. Oh, damn. And she gave herself her own mic drop. All right. I like that, Amber.
That's my kind of
you
person.
can do that. And then Stan is saying that is a big thing. Most people live check. That's
Yes.
And Shasha, I thought that when you were talking, I thought you were going to say the stuff that's being bought today, about 75 to 80% of it is being bought on credit card, which just means there's more debt to be serviced which in the long run
Always
is
a
not
bad
a good thing.
Always a bad
And
thing.
eventually that bill is going to come due. I don't know when, but it's going to come due. Let me ask you guys this, because I think really all of us are more digital businesses. We don't have any footprints, no brick and mortar. When do we start feeling it? Because eventually the people with hard goods or hard materials, bricks and mortar materials they manufacture with, they're going to feel it sooner than us. But
I think
when do we feel it? Because we're not going to be unscathed if it gets bad enough, right?
For me, John, I mean, Brent, I'll just be, fully transparent here. My business is slower. It is not easy. It is tough. But I think the one difference is I don't have high overhead. I don't have, as in fixed cost of building. I don't have 30 employees. I don't have inventory to come in. So it's not easy for me. But I can play with Facebook ads or not, DM people, LinkedIn or not, more speaking gigs things. So I don't know if that's helpful, but you're right. But I think it's just a different feeling how it feels, because I can play a bit more, lower head a bit more than somebody who has a retail store, fixed costs. They got shipping costs, employees, payroll, disability. I don't got all that. So that's a big difference for me.
I usually see it right before stuff comes in, because one of the first things that gets slashed is the marketing budget, and less ads that are sold, means that less money I'm making. And so I see it usually right before something kind of starts to happen. And so I'm usually one of the first affected.
So we'll be asking Leland earlier on usually, but you're right, Mark. Well, even I guess you see it too. Marketing budgets are like the first things that get slashed when times get really tough, right?
Yes, because I have been slow for almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it has to do, you guys that are working with much larger enterprise companies that have more of a buffer, you're not going to see it as fast as, let's say, small businesses that actually depend on a consumer writing them a check. That money has to come from somewhere, right? Your small business, and that money, as I mentioned to you guys last week, is now being diverted to things that are more expensive. It could be utilities. It could be, I don't know, like necessities. Like seriously, I'm not even kidding, right? The price of doing business is higher, and there may be a business owner that would have not taken a salary raise, right, and invested that money in marketing instead, now has to take that raise because I told you guys they are taking more money out of the business to pay for necessities.
That's right.
That's a thing. 86% of my people said they were pulling more money out of their business that would have been quote unquote discretionary spending, which is what usually go like, oh, I have some money, I'm going to do a marketing campaign.
And that's why I said that even at the beginning of we did this show some time ago, even, and my whole thing is we talk about small business. You really got to hone in what type of small business. I get it if you're 10, 20, 50 million in revenue or higher, that's a different scale of business. But you get to then 2 million to 10 million, that's when you got a few employees, but you're talking about under a million, myself even. It's me, and I got some freelancers and others work for me, but my scale and what I'm doing is different than somebody's running a $15, $25 million enterprise with employees. It's just different.
And like you said, if I go through my little Hallmark town, my Norman Rockwell town, and I was in there, these businesses, I was like in this little gift shop. I'll walk around and I'm cha-ching, cha-ching. I'm thinking like, oh my God, the inventory. Oh my God, the heat. We had a nice festival. Was it last week? It was a beautiful day. Beautiful day on Friday. Saturday, it rained. That is a problem because now they're not getting that traffic. And that's a weekend where these folks are making some of their biggest dollars.
Josh,
I got to leave.
Thank you, Josh.
Thanks, everyone.
Right. Thanks.
See you next week, hopefully. And we're pretty much right we're at the top of the hour. So why don't we do with final thoughts for the week? We'll go with Leland.
I've probably said it before, but I'll say it again. When it comes to AI and it comes to your business, adapt, use it to its best ability. Even if they come out with the ability to make movies on the go, make a movie and put your product in it and then share it. And then you got yourself a little bit of an advertisement while a person's watching a movie, or a movie that's set in your store, something to that effect. But always look for that angle that you can use to make something of the new technology and put yourself into it and benefit from it.
Nice. The cold one, the bold one, Mr. Lawson.
Yeah. Common sense warnings, man. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the ride at all times and stay seated and hold tight.
Strap on that seatbelt a little tighter, huh? Very sage advice from the bold one. I didn't say that, did I? Anyway, Ramon Ray.
Hey, riffing off of what John just said, listen to the advice of others. As you're on that ride, listen to those who've been there and done that and telling you what to do on that ride, and do not ignore their instructions, because they've seen 50, 100, 1,000 rides, so they know exactly what they're doing. So get coaching, get advice, read books, get on good podcasts, things of that nature. Thanks, Brent. Good host. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least, she is from Medina. She is the marketer, do-it-yourself queen. She is Eva Taylor.
Okay. Madam Mic Drop. I don't know if this is mic drop, but this is the moment where I'm going to tell you to eat your vegetables. I know that pizza is fun, but you got to eat your vegetables, people. So what that means is, this is something I've been doing this past week. Break out your funnel into like 3 things: awareness, engagement, conversion. Just those 3. We're not going to make it complicated. And then just like take your stats. You know, how much traffic are you getting? How much engagement are you getting? How many people are signing up? How many people are liking, commenting? And finally, how much of that is converting? These are like simple. I know it's like math, but please. And try to see where you are stuck. See where it drops off, right? So if the awareness, if you're not getting traffic, that's a traffic problem. So you're going to have to do something like that. If you're getting traffic, but they're not engaging with you, that's a messaging problem. And if they're engaging, but not buying, that's a conversion problem. That's a pricing trust problem. So those 3 people: know, like, trust. Awareness, engage, convert. Go back to basics. Like Lombardi said, this is a football. So that's your marketing football for the week.
All right. Now that is a mic drop. When you start quoting Vince Lombardi, oh, you got me. You really got me right there. All right. First of all, Amber, yes, it's an absolute must. You must go back and watch the full show. And then when you do that, then do this. Join me and John at 5:00. Because I got to school your boy every week. At least, an hour a week. So there it is. All right. And that's my 2 cents. Those are my final thoughts. Anyway, it's been a great show as usual. I mean, come on, man. The conversations are great. And we really appreciate you guys, all the folks that are commenting and really dropping dimes here. Great stuff. And Amber with the caps and her own mic drop for herself. I love that. So we glad that you're able to join us. We will see you next week. Have a great weekend and a great week.